So there's a couple of things I want to show you when doing this, when using this tool to make it as effective as possible. For one thing, let's say that you have an image and you want to make a bunch of changes to it. So I'm going to open up that other image we were just looking at. All right, so let's say that you have an image and you want to remove all sorts of things from it. You can do this. You can just right-click to increase and decrease the size of the brush. You can do, Alt-click, move this, change this, move this over here. I'm just hitting Alt. I'm clicking, I'm letting go, and then when I click again, I copy and paste into that area. I can click over here, I can click over here, I can click over here. Now, you run into a problem. I solved this zit issue pretty nicely, I would say. But in the process of that, I kind of ruined this up here, and I kind of ruined this over here. And something that you'll see people do a lot is end up with an effect that looks like this, where you can see that it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And I'm going to show you kind of in these series of sessions how to avoid doing that. So you can get into places where you're removing stuff like wires from an image, or you're doing things, other wires like trees from an image, all sorts of things. So we're going to get into those examples in a second. I just really want to lay down some of these fundamentals. So I'm going to go backwards in my history. Go backwards to the history, the point where I open this image, and show you this is how you should be using the stamp tool right here. Before doing anything in the stamp tool, don't do it on the layer that you want to be working on. First, create a new layer. So create a new layer and do all of the stamp tool action on that layer. Now you'll notice when I Alt-click, nothing is happening. And that's because in the options bar, there's a very important option. By default, the stamp tool is set to sample current layer, so it will only copy and paste from the layer that you're on. Set it to current and below, and I'll tell you why in a sec. It has to do with setting some color correction layers up, but don't worry about that. So now, if I copy and paste, it'll copy and paste from layers, this one and below. All right, and that's the way to do it. And the good thing about that is you fix one area, but then make a couple of areas worse. You now have all of the changes on their own layer. So if I just go into my eraser tool, which normally I avoid using, but here it works, you can erase the areas that you don't want and keep the areas that you do, namely this area right here. So again, the way to do that, here, let's just don't save this and get out of this and go right here. So the way to do it is create a new layer, go to the stamp tool by hitting S, making sure you're set to current and below, and then setting the brush size to, a good size right here, sampling from where you want to sample, and then just getting rid of the area and making sure not to go too far. So stamp tool can also be good for old images like this, but that's the technique. Always make sure to be doing it on a separate layer, so if you accidentally do something like that, it will happen, trust me. You can always go to your eraser by hitting E for eraser, and erase this out, and it's not burned into the same layer. So it's always good to keep things on a separate layer, and just make sure to double check you're on that right layer when doing it. So let's get out of this. Before or after, before, there. Look at that change. I can maybe go in with my eraser, just erase that out right there. Perfect. All right, let's get out of this.